Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Midterm elections are just months away, and no matter what you hear, the truth is Democrats do have a strong chance of taking over the House of Representatives, if history is any guide. What does that mean? Well, in the short term, it means that Nancy Pelosi will get unfettered subpoena power. Maxine Waters is likely to be chairman of the Financial Services Committee. It will be a big deal. But more broadly, it means an ascendant Democratic Party, and not the party you grew up with, but a new and far more radical and far more intolerant version of that party. How radical? Well, last night we showed you the violence. Tonight we have exclusive new material, the product of our reporting. Just 2 weeks ago, progressive activists held a convention in New Orleans called Netroots Nation. Happens every year. Virtually every major Democrat running for president went. By the fast-evolving standards of the left, Netroots Nation is a mainstream gathering. It's not a fringe event. Well, this show sent an investigative team to Netroots Nation to find out what the Democratic Party is becoming. The very first thing we noticed is that socialism, long discredited by nearly a century of murder and suffering, is reemerging and moving toward the center of Democratic politics.
What I see is not a time for moderation. It's a time for progressives to double down on what we believe in.
The establishment is terrified of that word, socialism. But if we learned one thing from the Obama years, it's that Republicans are going to call us socialists no matter what we do. So we might as well give them the real thing.
Might as well give them real socialism. The crowd cheers. Just 10 years ago, Democrats nodded to the idea of border security. They said they were for it. Now, the very idea of immigration enforcement of any kind, of borders themselves, is considered repugnant on the left.
I happen to believe that an agency that has repeatedly, systematically, and violently committed human rights abuses cannot be reformed.
Just imagine, no wall. No wall in southern Arizona.
Disagree with that? Think open borders are a bad idea? You're not simply wrong in the eyes of the new left. You're immoral.
The Republicans will continue to practice the politics of division. They will keep right on attacking anyone who dares to stand up to the rich and the powerful.
Do you need to wait for Robert Mueller to tell you Trump is wildly corrupt?
We must defeat a Republican Party which has sold its soul to a Republican president without one.
The president has no soul. Republicans are in the pocket of the rich, says the hedge fund private equity party. The president, of course, denounced as a racist, while actual race baiters like Maxine Waters, who once encouraged a race riot, were lauded as heroes.
We're not going to let you come to Ohio, President Trump, and do your race baiting and make your racial statements, whether it's LeBron James or Maxine Waters or anybody else. That ain't playing anymore, President Trump.
Well, ironically, for a gathering they said was designed to empower the marginalized, voters of color, as they say, attendees at this event tended to skew much older, paler, and more affluent. Well, a group of progressive activists noticed this, and a group of them stormed the stage during Saturday's keynote speeches. They demanded more black representation, and they promised to drink the crowd's, quote, white tears.
That white fragility is showing. Those white tears are showing. But guess what? I'm ready to drink them because we are going to be on the board. You're going to let us on the board, and you're going to fight for us to be on the board of Netroots.
Ready to drink white tears. Well, in an effort to atone for their skin color, organizers did what they could to attack white America. Among the books distributed at the event was one called Brown is the New White, How Demographic Revolution Has Created a New American Majority. One poster we found said that one of the, quote, challenges for American democracy is that white voters are able to vote and elect officials. In any other venue, that would, of course, be described as racism, but it was normal at Netroots. And then there were the bizarre portions of the program, and there were a lot of those. One well-attended panel dealt with the matter of, quote, menstrual equity. This is the latest frontier in the civil rights movement, in case you've been on vacation. One elected Democrat from Virginia we spoke to said male access to tampons is a vital and important emerging issue.
We're not sure how many men who are menstruating based on transgender surgeries or other ways that they're transforming.
We're not sure how many men are menstruating. Happily, the Democratic Party is trying to find out even as you sleep. It went on like this. This is what the Democratic Party is running on in 2018. The end of free enterprise, vicious attacks on a huge portion of the American population solely because of their skin color, tampons in men's bathrooms. This is a movement that seeks to end borders and create a world where there are only two kinds of people: the 320 million American citizens who live here, you and me, and the 7 billion U.S. citizens who haven't gotten around to moving here yet, but have every right to move here when they feel like it. That would be the rest of the world. That's what utopia looks like if you're a member of the New York Times editorial board. But what if you're not? What if you're just an ordinary voter? Is any of this appealing? We'll find out in November. But we can speculate ahead of time with Richard Goodstein. He's an attorney. He advised both of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaigns, and he joins us tonight. Richard, thanks a lot for coming on.
Of course.
Now, socialism. 2 years ago, it was, I think, pretty conclusively believed by most people that socialism had been tried over a period of almost 100 years, resulted in tens of millions of deaths and grotesque human suffering, and that maybe it was something that we didn't want to try again. Now, mainstream Democratic candidates are saying we need socialism. Is this a direction that you applaud?
So Cynthia Nixon was the only person that you just depicted who embraced socialism, and I wouldn't call her a mainstream Democratic candidate. And the candidates, frankly, who have
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not a mainstream candidate. She's about to be a member of Congress.
She got fewer than 16,000 votes, Tucker. You know that.
That's true.
She doesn't speak for anybody but those 16,000 people. You know this as well. The Bernie Sanders-backed candidates, one second, let me finish this one sentence. The Bernie Sanders-backed candidates in open primaries are getting clobbered by mainstream Democratic candidites supported by the Democratic Party.
So I guess that's my question. Hold on. But before you get polemical on me, this is a sincere question. You don't believe that Democrats running as socialists, democratic socialists, some species of socialist, that's not the future of your party. You're not going to see more of that? Are you sincerely saying that?
What I'm sincerely saying is...
Because it seems like we are seeing more of that.
So if you look at the polling that supports moderate answers, a regional minimum wage, not a $15 minimum wage, for example, that supersedes anything, that beats anything that Trump is standing for, or that Bernie Sanders is standing for. So there's a moderate support.
So here's my question. Look, I'm for moderate Democrats. So if your argument is we need more moderate Democrats, I'm on your side. I agree with that completely. This is scary because these are not moderate people. They're intolerant extremists, and they seem to be moving toward the center of your party. That's the only point I'm making. And so you disagree. Then my question is, where are the leaders of your party saying, you know what, we're not a socialist party, actually? That's been tried. It's happening right now in Venezuela. It's not working. We don't stand for that. I don't hear anybody saying that. Why doesn't Nancy Pelosi say that?
Well, you know, it's so funny. You saw this polling about where Democrats are vis-a-vis capitalism, right? What's funny is trade wars are not capitalist. Picking winners and losers is not capitalist. Those are probably two of the hallmarks of the Trump economy that we've seen so far. So it's a very odd thing to sort of ascribe.
But before you lecture me on the definition of capitalism, I don't know if you're quite qualified for that. Let me just restate my question. If socialism is antithetical to what it is to be a Democrat, why don't Democratic leaders say that out loud?
I don't think Democrats need to respond to the Cynthia Nixons of the world, with all due respect to her. What Democrats are standing for...
Then we'll see. I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
We'll see in the elections.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Why wouldn't it be very easy for Democratic leaders to say, it's really simple, you can't attack people on the basis of their skin color? You know, we fought a civil rights movement over this, and Democrats were the forefront of the civil rights movement. They were also the forefront of the segregation, but they were, honestly, leading the charge against racial discrimination for like 50 years. And now they're saying it's okay to attack people on the basis of their skin color. Why doesn't someone stand up and say, no, that's just wrong. All lives matter. Why is that so hard?
If there's one prominent person in public life today who's attacking people on the basis of their skin color, he resides in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Ask his top black official. Ask the public. Frankly, in all the polls...
I get it. We've established you think Trump is bad, but this isn't really a question about your party.
The public does, Tucker.
No, I get Trump is Trump. Well, we try to be the one show that doesn't talk about Trump for the entire hour. So let me just restate the question.
I'm with you.
Why is it so hard for Democratic leaders to stand up for an established principle of the Democratic Party, one that I grew up with, that we shouldn't attack people on the basis of their skin color? I'm hearing Democrats at all levels, elected, unelected, pundits on television, New York Times editorial writers, attack fellow Americans for their skin color. That's immoral. Why does nobody say so?
I don't think every Democratic leader has to respond to every kook, right? And I don't think we're looking at elected officials who are attacking people on the basis of their skin color. Excuse me?
Really? You think the New York Times editorial writer, who was at the center of this huge controversy, she attacked people for their skin color. She was roundly defended by left-wing pundits on the other channels. Why didn't anybody say, you know what, you're not allowed to, it's not a good thing to attack people on the basis of immutable characteristics they can't control? Nobody said that. And anyone who tried to say that was denounced. Well, you know, if she gets elected as a Democrat to Congress, then I think we'll actually have reason to debate this. But so long as all she is, no disrespect, is a member of the editorial board of the New York Times, honestly, the editorial board of the New York Times has people on it that have a lot of different positions on race issues, among others. So I guess I quarrel with whether that gets ascribed to the Democratic Party. I just don't think it does. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I see it everywhere. Maybe I'm paranoid or something, but I mean, every single day. Every news site I go to is making the same point. That some races are superior to others, and I didn't grow up in a world where that was okay.
And all I'm saying is, next time you sit down with Donald Trump, please tell him exactly what you just said to me, how that's wrong.
But Trump's never said anything. He's never said anything like that, actually. I mean, if we're being totally real, I know Trump is evil and everything, but if Trump ever got up and said one race is better than others, this race should be ashamed for who it is, I'd be the first one to say, what? You can't say that. That's wrong.
If you had any other president calling a black person a dog or consistently saying that black people were low IQ who you disagreed with, yes, I think that's exactly the term you would ascribe to them. Sorry.
You know, it says it to everybody. And by the way, what bothers me, to be totally honest, is I love dogs. I don't think being compared to a dog is an insult. I mean, I'm dead serious. I want to stand up for dogs on the show. Anyway, Richard, thank you. Good to see you.
My pleasure.
Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren also spoke at Netroots, and during her remarks, she denounced the nation's criminal justice system, all of it, and everyone who works for it, as racist. Here it is.
Let's just start with the hard truth about our criminal justice system. It's racist. I mean, front to back. This is not just sentencing reform we're talking about here. We're talking about the front end on what you declare to be illegal, on how you enforce it, on who gets arrested.
Well, those remarks sparked a backlash, obviously, from law enforcement. Warren is now trying to clarify her remarks. She says she wasn't calling any individual law enforcement personnel racist, even as she condemned the entire institution they work for. What exactly was she saying, and is it a good idea to say that on the eve of an election? Dana Perino is exactly the person to ask. She hosts the Daily Briefing with Dana Perino every day at 2 p.m. You watch it, obviously, on Fox. And she joins us. Hey, Dana. So, I mean, look, I don't want to pile on, but I want to ask a sincere question, which is, why would, you know, she's an ideologue, Elizabeth Warren, but she's also a political person who got elected statewide in Massachusetts. She's not stupid. She doesn't say things in public accidentally. What is the thinking here? Is that a good political move to attack the whole justice system as racist?
Well, it depends on what race you're running for. Okay, so she is likely to be a 2020 candidate for the Democratic Party. So if you go to Netroots Nation and you say that as a Democratic candidate, you are going to get praise. But here's the problem. She's also running for re-election right now as a senator in her home state of Massachusetts. The reason she had to backtrack is because police in her own state, sheriffs who typically stay out of politics for the most part, had written an open letter condemning the comments. So she had to, pull back. So she is in a paradox of what race are you running for? The other thing, Tucker, I would say is that, sometimes in politics it's all about timing. In many ways, she should have run in 2016. She would have had the entire left field to herself. She didn't do that, and now that field is so crowded.
That is a very, I agree with you completely. This is the Chris Christie problem. It was 4 years too late. That was her cycle. So is anybody concerned about the effect of, I mean, it's one thing to say, look, there are things about our system that are bad and could be improved. Everyone agrees with that. But to attempt to delegitimize the entire justice system inevitably is going to increase the amount of crime and disorder in America. And that has always been a pretty powerful political issue. Are they worried about that?
I'd say a couple of things. There are three of her colleagues or potential candidates that she'll run against for the Democratic primary have been in the criminal justice system, have made their careers there. Eric Holder, the former Attorney General for President Obama. Right. Deval Patrick, the former governor of her home state of Massachusetts. Kamala Harris, the senator from California, was a prosecutor. possibly be that all of them were participating in this racist system? That would be one question that if you were running against her as one of those Democrats, I would ask her that. But the other thing is that if you just take a bigger picture look at this, she has, as I wrote it down here, she has pretty much taken a whole wonderful opportunity away from herself and for the people she says she wants to help. I was just looking at, it was just last week, President Trump held that event at Bedminster on his time off on criminal justice reform. He wants to actually get to a deal. He wants to do something about it. The question will actually be, will the Democrats let him help them? Will they give him a chance to sign legislation that would actually change the criminal justice system? There is bipartisan support here. Jared Kushner's pushing it. People like Van Jones, I know he's at CNN, but he also has outside work. He's been working on this. There is bipartisan support in the Senate. The president's willing to sign something. The question will be, do the Democrats want a solution or a problem that they can run against?
That is such a good point. And if the White House is clever, I think they'll point that out. Dana Perino, great analysis. Thank you. Great to see you.